All right, and shalom, shalom, shalom. This is Elder James, and I'm with the King James Bible University, coming out of Durham, North Carolina. And before we get started, we do want to make it known, as we always do, that we here at the King James Bible University and the House of the Lost Sheep of Israel, we are not affiliated with any Christian group or any Christian organization, nor are we affiliated with any camp group or any Black Hebrew street camp organization or any group of the sort. Because we here at the King James Bible University and the House of the Lost Sheep of Israel, we stand alone and we only hold to the 1611 King James Bible with the Apocrypha. We don't share any notes. We don't discuss any notes. We don't discuss anything with any outside organization or any religious group. We here at KJBU and the House of the Lost Sheep of Israel, we stand alone. That's what we hold to, and that's what we're going to stand on. So with that being said, once again, I want to say shalom, shalom, shalom to everybody. So tonight's teaching that we actually going to be getting into is entitled The Tower Builder, the Name Maker, and the Altar. So in this teaching, we actually going to continue on our examination of the interior diagnostics of the vessel operating under the Nimrod function, which, as majority of you guys know, that I've been going through this Nimrod function and this Oracle Gazette for a while now. So we know a few weeks ago, we actually looked at the self-governing vessel. However, tonight, we're going to examine this by considering multiple facets of this function within the vessel. So our focus will be the distinction between these two spiritual positions, the tower builder and the altar. So we know the tower builder, that speaks about the vessel that is building his own spiritual achievement, which the name maker is the one that is invested in his own spiritual reputation, contrary to the altar, which is the altar of surrender, which is the vessel that surrenders itself, having nothing to offer but himself. So we're going to see that the name maker and the tower builder actually go hand in hand. That's why you can see the tower builder is the one who actually seeks to establish a name for himself. So this is why I decided to do the tower and the name maker together, because they're going to run right into each other. Because the tower is actually built on high, whereas the altar is built low. And within that contrast lies the distinction that we must understand. You see, the tower is constructed of brick and mortar, manufactured by man-made material by the vessel that desires to exalt itself, declaring itself worthy of heaven's attention through its own achievements and his own reputation that it has cultivated. But in the contrast, the altar is built low, of unhewn stone, by the vessel whose desires directed towards the Almighty, offering nothing of itself except his own self. So the tower is erected according to the instructions of the name maker, because he places his trust in his own carnal mind. But the altar is built according to the instructions of JEHOVAH, because the vessel trusts in the Spirit as both its guide and his path. So what we have to do, we have to examine these two positions and the distinctions that actually separate them. So what we want to truly understand what this actually looks like within us, so we can see it. This is why this is a diagnostic. We want to see what our issues are, so then we can make the proper corrections on what needs to happen, so we can understand what it is that we actually need to do. So the question that lies before us is, are we building towers to establish our own name, or are we building an altar in humble submission to the will of JEHOVAH? That's what we want to ask within ourselves. So we're going to go ahead and get started with this lesson. So we're going to start right over here, and we're going to look at Genesis. We're going to look at Genesis chapter 11. We're going to start right here. We're going to start right here in Genesis chapter 11, and we're going to read verse 4. As it says here in Genesis chapter 11, starting at verse 4, and it said, "And they said, Go to, let us build us a city and a tower, whose top may reach unto heaven, And let us make us a name. So let us make us a way, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth. So we can see, as I said, that this tower is built high. But we have to keep in mind that we're not looking at a physical structure of a building. We're not looking at that. But we speaking about the construction of a vessel, a body that has exalted itself on high, whose top may reach into heaven. This is what we're talking about, to establish its own name, its own way. So this tower is going to represent a heightened state of mind and of the heart that has been elevated. One who has exalted themselves based on their own achievements, their own success, their own status, and their own gains. See, this is not merely based on the possessions that they have, but this exaltation is to establish a reputation for people to see. This is why I say, who top may reach into heaven. See, heaven functions as a firmament or a separation, but this also represents an exaltation. So I want to show us, I even want to show us that even in a spiritual dictionary, because we can even see that here when you look at heaven. Because when you go over here, you look at heaven, you can see where it says firmament, separation, but you see exaltation. So this is what's going on here. This is what's going on here, because it represents an exaltation. This is why it's going to reach into heaven, because they're going to be exalted to achieve a certain height. So when we build in a tower based on our own achievements, this is based on a self-centered attitude of an individual who hasn't elevated themselves in their own mind to the point where they believe that they are above all others, even Jehovah himself. See, this is what we'll do. This is why we can even see this here when we go over here to Isaiah. This is why we can actually see this here. When we go to Isaiah, let's look at this. Let's look at this in Isaiah chapter 14, and we're going to hit verse 13 and verse 14. Isaiah chapter 14, we're going to hit verse 13 and verse 14. It says, "For thou hast said in thine heart." So we say this in our mind, in our desire. "I will ascend into heaven." See, this is this ascension, to be elevated to this exalted state. It's saying, I will exalt my throne. So I'm going to exalt my own dominion and my own authority above the stars of God. So above the messengers of God, I will sit also upon the mountain of congregation. So that sit is telling you to take authority. So now I'm going to establish myself upon the mount. So this place, this mountain of this congregation in the sides of the north. Verse 14, I will ascend. So I will rise above the heights of the clouds. So these clouds are these holy ones, the congregation, the members of the body. And I would be like the Most High. So I would be in comparison, even as the Most High. So we see what it's saying. So we can clearly see how serious this actually is. This is why I said, the vessel who is constructing their own tower to reach into heaven is not only seeking to magnify their own achievements, however, they are seeking a height and an elevation even past the point of human capability to be like the Most High. So to sit there and have this mindset, not only will we seek dominion and authority over others, it's not that only, such as over the messengers of God, such as over the teachers of God, but also establishing himself above the congregation. This is one who will see themselves better than everybody else. See, this is why I made that statement from the beginning, how easy it is for us to get in this mind state of thinking that we are greater, thinking that we are better. We will put ourselves on this level while we'll sit there and see everybody else at a lower level than us. This is what we're talking about, because we done reasoned in our minds that we at the top of the totem pole and everybody else is under us at the bottom of the totem pole. And the worst part about this is this can be based on knowledge. And we're going to see this as we continue to move forward in the teaching. It be based on knowledge because of how we see ourselves in our own eyes, even comparing ourselves to the Most High. You see people that might say, well, I don't see that. I don't think that. I don't see that about I don't see how I could compare how I compare myself to the Most High. I don't do that. Yeah, we say that. We say that. See, I've even said that to myself. I don't see that. However, did I consider it though? Did I actually consider what this verse was actually saying? Or did I just assume that I wasn't doing something because I didn't want to see myself in that way? See, if that wasn't the case, if this right here wasn't an issue, then this wouldn't even be here penned in scripture. But it is. That's the point. Because this lets us know that we have an issue. This here is penned in scripture. This is not history, but this is our present condition of those of us who follow this same Lucifer pattern. Why? Because it ain't nothing new under the sun. We'll follow this same pattern. So we have to understand a lot of us seek knowledge. Understand what I'm saying? See, let me slow down on what I'm saying. A lot of us seek knowledge. And a lot of us, we will say, well, knowledge is power. I get that. Yeah, that's one thing. However, knowledge can become very dangerous when it's placed in the wrong hands. That's what I want us to understand. Because I want to show us something on this so we can actually see how this actually happens. I want to show us something. Let's go over here to Ezekiel. I want to show us something here. Let's go over here to Ezekiel chapter 28. Let's look at something. In Ezekiel chapter 28, we're going to hit verse 1 and verse 2. Over here in Ezekiel chapter 28, starting at verse 1 and verse 2. And it says, the word of the Spirit of God came again unto me, saying, Son of man, say unto the prince of Tyrus, thus saith the Lord God, because thine heart is lifted up, and thou hast said, I am a God. I sit in the seat of God. So I sit on this throne. I sit on this authority in this position of honor. Because that's what the seat is. The seat of God, you sitting in this position of honor. You sitting on this throne, this authority. He said, in the midst of the sea. So in the midst of these multitudes of people. But watch what he say. Yet thou art a man. No, in your profession of beauty, you a man. And not God. Though thou set thine heart as comparing the heart of God. So this is the issue. So don't get caught up in this Prince of Tyrus. People might be sitting there, well, what about the Prince? Don't get caught up in the Prince of Tyrus because he's telling you about us. Because this whole book is about us. That's why I tell you to seek ye out of the book of the Lord and read. So we need to see how this applies to us because people say, well, who is that? Okay, well, go look in the mirror. Because when you're looking at this Prince of Tyrus is a ruler. Tyrus is telling you to besiege. So this ruler to besiege, that's what it's telling you. So when you besiege something, you bringing it into spiritual confinement or placing it under your authority. So we can even see a quick example of this to even show you what I'm even talking about. Because that Tyrus is the besiege. You're going to besiege it. That's why you can even see. I want to show us this over here in Daniel. In Daniel chapter 1, we're going to hit verse 1 and verse 2 so we can see what happened here. To understand this besiege. He tells us in Daniel chapter 1, verse 1 and verse 2, and it says, in the 3rd year of the reign of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, came Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon. So this ruler of Babylon of confusion unto Jerusalem. So watch this. And besieged it. Why? Because he's bringing us into bondage. He's bringing us into spiritual confinement. That's the point. So it wasn't just merely by his own authority that he did this, but this was done because of our own disobedience. So the Most High is the one who gave us into his hands to bring us into bondage. That's why you see in verse 2, and it said, and the Lord gave Jehoiakim, king of Judah, into his hand. So the Lord, he gave us into his hand because of our disobedience. With the part of the vessels of the house of God, which he carried into the land of Shinar, to the house of his God, so of his idol. And he brought the vessels unto the treasure of the house of his God. So the point is, you see, this Nebuchadnezzar, he besieged it. So he besieged Jerusalem, not a physical city, but this people. Because Jerusalem is telling you about this separated people. But he brought this people into spiritual confinement, spiritual bondage, because he besieged it. But the point is, it wasn't by his own power, but by Jehovah's power to chasten us, because only God has the power to do this. The same as he gave us into Nebuchadnezzar's authority, the same as he freed us from it. That power only belongs to God and none other. But our issue is, over here in Ezekiel chapter 28, we done besieged this position, this authority of God. We've taken it for our own. That's why I say, when we look back over here to Ezekiel chapter 28 and verse 2, he tell you, son of man, prince of Tyre, this ruler to besiege. Thus said the Lord God, because thou heart lift it up. Thou said, I am God. We don't put ourselves in this position. I sit in the seat of God. I'm in this position of honor. We putting ourselves there in the midst of the sea, in amongst this people. Yet thou art a man and not God, though thou set thy heart as the heart of God. Because we done besieged this position for our own. That's why I say, I am a God and I sit in the seat of God, because we establish ourselves in the position of authority and in the position of honor and glory as if it belongs up to us. We don't besiege that position for ourselves. Say we don't sit here and do this. See, this is why you see guys around here talking about that they are God, talking about what's up, God. Talking about they guys. They done sat there and done read some book that they done thought done enlightened them to some understanding. Now we run around here talking about we gods, thinking we woke now. Say we don't do it. Say we don't sit here and make our own spiritual decisions based on what we think and use our own judgment. And they ain't sat there and sought counsel from God on nothing. No, we going to sit there and make our own decisions. We going to make our own choices. Oh, I got the knowledge now. I'm going to do what I see is right. I ain't got to come to God for nothing. I got understanding now. And then we going to sit there and pass our own judgment based on how we see things in our own eyes. Say we don't do it. Say we don't sit there and we done built this tower. We done built this high-minded mindset to reach into heaven and placed ourselves in the position of God. Sitting there thinking we think we're going to bring somebody to the judgment seat and think we can sit there and pass judgment upon others. Say we don't do this. I want somebody to sit here and say that we don't actually do this. Say we don't sit there and try to put people in bondage and sit there and try to make them bow down to us and kiss our feet like we somebody. See, this is why you can sit there and you see these camps out here and they sit there and they want white people to bow down to them. This is why you see that. They want people to bow down to them and kiss their feet. We sit there and believe that other people is supposed to be in servitude to us as if we deserve something. We want people to worship us as if we somebody and we nothing. But we don't put ourselves in this position of authority as if we God. This is what we're talking about. That's why I say we sit there and don't believe we doing something, but then when you sit there and look at it, we doing this very exact thing that we don't think that we doing. We done besieged this position, thinking we can place other people in bondage. Oh, you better listen to me. You better listen to me. Whatever I say, you better do. See, this is the same very mindset that we as a people can have. We even can do this in our own homes. You got the man sitting there telling his wife, talking about, nah, I'm the man. I'm the head of the house. You better listen to me. And whatever I say, that's what goes. But he ain't even sat there and taken any counsel with Jehovah, the one who is his head. And he ain't even humbling himself too. He can't even run his own house, but he want his wife to bow down to him, to heed to his every command. But we can't even be an example of a man of God, but rather a tyrant to our own spouse. How does that reflect Jehovah's nature? You tell me. Then But don't worry, but we got the women too. Because then you got the women who believe that a man is supposed to worship her. Y'all ever heard that saying? He need to worship the ground that I walk on. Y'all ever heard that? The happy wife, happy life. Oh, he better worship this ground that I walk on. Y'all ever heard that saying? Oh, he better worship this ground. Who are you? Who do you think you are? You see what I'm talking about? Now the woman has placed herself in a position as if she's some type of goddess. You got women out here who call themselves that too. Talking about they goddesses. Oh, I'm a goddess. I'm a queen. I'm a queen. Then you got men talking about I'm a king. Oh, we kings and queens. We kings and queens. This is what we talking about. We got all these high standards that we believe somebody's supposed to meet us at because now we so high and mighty that we don't put ourselves in this high position based on how we see ourselves. So we'll sit there, we'll place our loved ones in bondage. We become the oppressors, making them walk around like they on some type of dang eggshells, thinking we can oppress others, thinking we can afflict, thinking we can punish, thinking we can put other people in bondage, putting other people in confinement to us. Who the hell we think we are? So we the ones who gonna pass judgment. We the ones gonna sit there and think we gonna condemn somebody. Why? Because we think we God. That's why, hey, I'm a God. I sit in the seat of God. We think we the ones that gonna pass judgment. We don't besiege this position for ourselves. This position of honor and glory that doesn't belong to nobody but to him. But guess what? Say we don't seek our own honor and our own glory. Say we don't do it. I want somebody here right now to say we don't do this. Because I promise you, we gonna find out today. Oh, trust me. We gonna find out today. Say we don't walk around here and seek honor for this position, for the authority that we think that we have. Talking about, I'm a follower of Christ. I'm a Hebrew. Who are you? I'm a Hebrew. Sitting there talking about, oh, I'm Elder so-and-so. Oh, I'm Elder James. I'm Elder James. I'm supposed to get some honor. I'm Evangelist so-and-so. I'm Deacon so-and-so. I'm brother so-and-so. I'm sister so-and-so. You're supposed to show me some respect. You can't talk to me this way. You're supposed to show me some honor. Again, who made us God? Who made us God? You see this here? Back over here in verse 28. Matter of fact, let me unhighlight this because I want us to see this specific part. I want us to clearly see this specific part so we don't get it mixed up. Because I don't know, maybe we got the wrong idea. I want us to see right here in verse 28. He says, yet, thou art a man. You just a man. I'm just a man. We just flesh and blood. We ain't nothing who we think we are. And he said you gonna die as a man. Matter of fact, let me pull that because I want to show us this. I want to show us this over here in Psalms because he tell us this. Let's go over here to Psalms chapter 82. I want us to clearly understand our position. Let's go over here to Psalms. Let's go over here to Psalms chapter 82. I want us to clearly, let's go over here. Let's look at Psalms chapter 82, verse 6 and verse 7, because maybe we don't get it. He tell you in Psalms chapter 82, verse 6 and verse 7, he said, I have said, ye are gods. People say, oh, yeah, you see, he said we gods. He said we gods. Okay, hold your high horse. Watch what he say. And all of you are children of the Most High. Watch this. But, there go that but. You see that but come up and let you know it's a problem. Watch what he say. But you shall die like men. You gonna die as a man because you flesh and fall like one of the princes, just as this dang prince of Tyrus. You gonna fall just like that because you dang flesh, but you think you a dang God. This is our issue. We came from the dust of the ground and we going right back to it. But now we don't put ourselves up here on this pedestal. Guess what? Based on our knowledge. I told you we was coming back to it. That's why I said, don't let go. Based on our knowledge. People say, what you mean based on? This is what I say. It's knowledge that gets us in trouble. See, knowledge elevates the mind of a prideful male or female, a man or woman, because we think, because we got so much knowledge, now all of a sudden we better than everybody else. Now we wiser than everybody. Why? I'm going to show you to you. Right back over here in Ezekiel chapter 28, starting at verse 3. Behold, remember now. Don't you forget. He said, you better remember. He said, thou art wiser than Daniel. In your perfection of beauty, wiser than Daniel. There's no secret that they can hide from thee. Again, say we don't do this. I want somebody to say that we don't do this. Say we don't sit there and think this in our hearts. I want somebody to say it. People probably sitting there talking about, well, that said Daniel. Well, why are you talking about Daniel? No, see, that's what your issue. No, don't look at the name. Don't look at the person. Don't look at the name. Look at the function. You looking at Daniel? No, this telling you about the judge guy, the teacher of Jehovah. Thou art wiser than the teacher of Jehovah. Look at the function. We wiser than the teacher of God. Same thing as you see when we go back. Matter of fact, I'll pull it back up on the screen just to show us. Same thing as you seen when you went back over here to Isaiah 14. You see what it say? I will exalt my dominion, my authority above the stars of God, above the messengers of God. Same thing. Same thing. How many times we done sat there and put ourselves in a position where we believe that we gonna teach the teacher? Tell me. Oh, I'm gonna put myself above this messenger. I'm gonna tell him what I think. I'm going to check him. Say we don't do it. I want somebody to sit here and say we don't do this. As soon as we hear something we don't like from the teacher of Jehovah, now we call ourselves, we going to put him in his place. We going to check him. Who he think he talking to? Who do he think he is? I'm going to give him a piece of my mind. Say we don't do that. We'll sit there and come over here as soon as we get some knowledge, as soon as we get some understanding from this same teacher. As soon as we get some knowledge and understanding from the same teacher, from the same one that we got the knowledge from, who's teaching us in the way of Jehovah, is the same exact one that we'll turn right around and now we think we're going to tell him something. As soon as they tell us something that we don't like, now we think we know more than him. Now we don't put ourselves over them in their position. Again, we done besieged this. We done besieged this position again. Now we gonna teach the teacher. Say we don't do it. That's why I keep asking it. Because I need for somebody, because some reason I'm not getting that. Ain't nobody answering the question. Ain't nobody answering. For some reason, we not getting the answer. I need somebody to tell me that we don't do this. Tell me. You see, Jehovah put men in a position, but that they did not put themselves. That's why you can even see in Jeremiah chapter 3. I'm going to show us. Over here in Jeremiah chapter 3, and verse 15, he tells us something. It says, and I will give you pastors. I'm going to give you these feeders according to mine heart, which shall feed you with knowledge and understanding. So you see that he said, I will give you pastors. This is a gift. So these feeders, according to his heart, they're going to feed us. They're going to nourish us with this knowledge and understanding. But now, this is what happens. Now, all of a sudden, we get so puffed up in the mind. Now, we start building this tower. Now, we going to exalt ourselves. Now, we wiser than the teacher. Now, we wiser than the one that was given unto us for the knowledge. See, please help me make sense out of this. Please make this make sense. We get all this knowledge and understanding that we think we need. And once we get that, now we can go off and do our own thing. Oh, I got it now. Shoot, I don't need him anymore. Shoot, what I need him for? Now we go build our own tower of our own understanding. But forget that Jehovah gave the teacher as a gift. But we don't need a gift no more. We good now. This is what we do. That's why he tells us. Let's go over here to Ezekiel chapter 28. Back over here, we're going to read verse 4 and verse 5. He tell you, it says, with thy wisdom, exactly the point, with our wisdom, and with thine understanding, with our understanding, thou hast gotten these riches. Yeah. And has gotten gold and silver into thy treasures. By thy great wisdom and by thy traffic hast thou increased thy riches, and thine heart is lifted up because of thy riches. Exactly the point. See, we ain't over here. We ain't talking about physical riches. We talking about this treasure, this spiritual wealth, these spiritual riches, all this wisdom, all this knowledge and understanding that we done accumulated, all of this. But the problem is, as soon as we get it, we don't know how to act. As soon as we get it, we forget about the one who gave it. And then we take it for our own and go our own way. Because as soon as we done came to believe that we done reached a certain height in knowledge and understanding, and we get big-headed in that, now we know everything. Now, nobody can't tell us nothing no more. Not even the one that we came to get the knowledge from in the first place. He can't even tell us nothing now. Because we got it all together now. We got it all going on. We got the knowledge and don't even know what to do with it. We sit here and get all this substance and don't even know the proper way to use it. So it just becomes a waste. See, this is why you can even see the same thing here, why this was an issue. Why you can even see why we go over here. We look over here in Luke chapter 15. We can see this. Let's look at this here. You can see this in Luke chapter 15. We're going to hit verse 11. In Luke chapter 15, we're going to hit verse 11 to 14. Show us something here. Luke chapter 15, verse 11 to 14, it said, and he said, a certain man had 2 sons, and the younger of them said to his father, Father, give me the portion of goods that falleth unto me. And he divided unto them his living. And not many days after, the younger son gathered all together and took his journey into a far country, and there wasted his substance with riotous living. That's the point. And when he had spent all, there arose a mighty famine in the land, and he began to be in want. So he began to be in need. He began to be lacking. But this is exactly what happens to us. We sit there and get everything that we think we need. Oh, give me my goods. Give me my portion. Give me my substance and my riches. Give me what belongs to me. Give me what's mine so you can go die. See, that's basically what he's saying. Because he gonna forget all about the one who gave it. That's the point. Then as soon as we get it, we don't know what to do with it. See, we get all this substance, we get all these goods, this wealth, this knowledge, and then forget about the one who gave it. And we sit there and go far off. We go off. We go astray. We go off our own way. And then as soon as we jack it up, now we gonna be in need. Now we in want. And now we lacking substance because we sat there and strayed away from the Father's house to go our own way, to build our own thing, because we think we got it going on. Then we get out here and we start messing up because we get all high and mighty believing we not in need of anything no more. See, this is what we do. We carry this same mindset that we can even see here when we look over here in Revelation. Same thing that we see. We look over here. Let's look over here in Revelation chapter 3. Let's look at this. Revelation chapter 3, and we're going to hit verse 17. He tell us something. Revelation chapter 3, verse 17, it says, because thou sayest, we say this, I'm rich and increase with goods. Exactly the point. And have need of nothing. And knowest not that thou in your perfection and beauty, wretched and miserable and poor and blind and naked. See, this is what we talking about. Why? Because we rich. We rich. We increase with goods. You see here, we got riches. We got goods. We don't need anything. We get everything we think we need, and then we forget about the one who gave it. But then we're going to sit there and think, that this doesn't apply to us, that it applies to other people. That's why I said last time, we want to sit there, we can point fingers and say, oh, well, so-and-so need to see this. Oh, this is about them. That's our problem. We sit there and think that this don't apply to us, and we going to point fingers at everybody else instead of turning that finger around right back at ourselves. This same thing here, believing that we increase with these goods and have need of nothing, this is the reason why we don't ask questions and seek understanding. Because we good. We done said in our own heart that we rich, that we are increased with goods. We don't need nothing. That's why we don't do it. So providing we don't seek out understanding, all we're going to do is build an understanding of what we think. Because we too prideful to do it otherwise. Now, that same knowledge becomes a danger. Because we don't know how to apply all that we actually receiving, nor do we ask how to. You see how many of us you see seek the reason behind things? How many of us seek how to apply the knowledge that we receive or how to actually go about doing something? Or do we just get it and then we go about our business? Don't ask any questions about it. So this is the issue. A lot of us are not going to look at ourselves. We're not even going to realize that we actually put ourselves in a position of need. Because this is what happens when we sit there. We can get so elevated and so high in our own understanding that we'll sit there and bite the hand of the one that actually feeds us. Nah, I'm good. I'm good. I don't need, no, I got it. I understand. I'm good. I understand it. I don't need anything. I'm good. But that right there is the exact issue. Not realizing just because we get increased does not mean that we have it all. Because our issue is we'll take the same exact thing. We'll take the same exact thing that was made for good, and we'll sit there and we'll turn it to evil. Because the same thing. That's why he even tell us this. That's why he even tell us this when we go over here to Sirach, or Ecclesiasticus chapter 39. Sirach, or Ecclesiasticus chapter 39. And we're going to hit verse 25. We're going to hit verse 25, verse 25 and verse 26 right here. And then verse 27. So we're going to see this in Sirach chapter 39, starting at verse 25. It said, for the good are good things created from the beginning. So evil things for sinners. The principal things for the whole use of man's life are water. So we just need to start right there, because that's what we're looking at. Knowledge. That's why I say we've been speaking about knowledge. That's why we came here. You see, knowledge, spiritually, this water is this knowledge. And we know knowledge is the substantial thing for our spiritual life and our spiritual understanding. But, again, the issue. What happens when knowledge falls into the wrong hands? What happens then? He tell you in verse 27, all these things are good to the godly. So, to sinners, they are turned into evil. This is the point. So the same knowledge that is given unto us for our good, to sustain our spiritual lives, is the same knowledge that can be turned into evil, provided we using it for the wrong reasons and for the wrong intent. Then it's turned to evil. This is what happens. See, this is the same thing when you're looking at knowledge seekers and knowledge hunters. You're seeing it right here. You're going to see it right here. See, the knowledge seeker is the godly. So they're using knowledge for what it was actually made for. Because they're going to ask the questions to seek understanding, to see how things work, to seek how things are moving, for the purpose of their understanding, to apply it to their own life. But they always go back to the source to gain more understanding, meaning they remember where they got that understanding from, and they're going to continue to seek from it. So they're always going back to the source. But on the contrary, to sinners, this same knowledge is turned to evil. These are the knowledge hunters. These are the ones who may ask questions, who may get understanding, but only use that same knowledge against other people to boast themselves or to show other people that they have understanding. This is the one who will build a tower of his own understanding to make a name for himself, because he's going to desire to show everybody that he's the one who has understanding, but then does not refer you back to the source of where his understanding actually came from. He going to tell you it came from him. He now becomes the source of understanding. Oh, you got to go to him now. Do we see how this works? Because now he going to take this position for himself. Once he gets enough knowledge from the source that he believed that he need, he'll cut himself off from it. Now he become the source of understanding. So he can show everybody what he knows. So they got to come to him. Now he can establish his own reputation, his own fame, his own notoriety, because now people are going to come to him rather than where the source of the knowledge actually came from. He cuts it off. But he never actually learned how to go about understanding it to apply it to himself, but only sought it out only to appear knowledgeable in the presence of others. This is what a knowledge hunter does. He takes that same knowledge and he's going to turn it to evil. So when the hard questions come, he can't answer them. Now that leaves you in the position of want, in the position of need. Now you lacking. Because instead of actually directing you to the source, he cut you off from it to establish himself in his own city, in his own tower. See, this is no different from people building these little communities and these little groups. Let's consider when we're looking at a group study. But then when we build a group, the group is not built on proper understanding. It's built on the understanding of individuals that have placed themselves in the position of the teacher without the proper training and the proper counsel to do a proper study. So without the proper understanding there, then people that attends the group study will still remain lacking, will still remain without proper understanding, because instead of going back to the source, the one who can show us the proper way, we rely on what we think based on the little knowledge that we know. So we'll build our own city and our own tower, our own little community, all because we want to be seen in this high position. We want to be seen with status. We want this reputation, all behind the knowledge that we done accumulated. Now believing that we should be running something because now we know everything. But as soon as we get caught lacking, now we want to run back to the source. But keep the people under us. Instead of referring them back to the source where the understanding came from, we going to go back to the source and they'll come back as if we the ones who got the understanding. So providing we put ourselves in a position to believe in our own minds that we have need of nothing and we lack nothing and have elevated ourselves to this height, this very mindset is what brings about the fall. That's what it's going to do. Same thing. Let's go back over here to Ezekiel. Let's go back over here. Ezekiel chapter 28. Ezekiel chapter 28. Now we're going to hit verse 15. Ezekiel chapter 28, verse 15 down to 17. And he tells us, it says, thou was perfect in thy ways from the day that thou was created till iniquity was found in thee. So you see, thou was perfect in the day thou was created till iniquity was found in thee. Till we got to the point where we believed that we could equal ourselves to God, that we can go off on our own and do our own little thing. He tell you, by the multitude of thy merchandise, they have filled the midst of thee with violence, and thou hast sinned. Therefore, I will cast thee as profane out of the mountain of God, and I will destroy thee, O covering cherub, from the midst of the stones of fire. Verse 17. Thine heart was lifted up because of thy beauty. You see what it's saying? Thine heart was lifted up because of thy beauty, because of your glory, because of your understanding, because of your wisdom. Thou hast corrupted thy wisdom by reason of thy brightness, by reason of your clearness, of thy pureness. I will cast thee to the ground. I will lay thee before kings in the presence of kings, that they may behold thee. So this is exactly why I made those statements at the very beginning. It's not merely the exaltation and the desire of elevation and the seeking a reputation that does it. but it happens behind knowledge. We elevate ourselves based on knowledge. That's what gets us in trouble. Just because we know we got knowledge, we'll get puffed up in that. That's the dangers. So we'll sit there and make that separation between us and others. The knowledge that we receive, we have to understand, is not for us to glorify ourselves in. It's not for that. Nor is it for us to put on a show or prove to others that we know something. However, it's to glorify God. But as soon as we start using it for the wrong reason and the wrong intent, to glorify self, to make a name for self, and we turn our backs from the source to build our own thing, that's the moment that we become corrupted in it. Because of our brightness, because of the clearness and the pureness of the understanding that Jehovah gave us, that we didn't even give to ourselves. He gave it to us. He the one who increases us and opens our mind to this understanding. But guess what? The same one that gave it is the same one that'll take it. Because the knowledge only comes from one source. Because, again, there's no teacher above God. Matter of fact, I want to show us this. I want to show us that he even said this. Let's go over here to Sirach or Ecclesiasticus. No, Second Esdras. I meant Second Esdras chapter 7. Second Esdras chapter 7, and we're going to hit verse 19. Second Esdras chapter 7 and verse 19. I'm going to show us this. Second Esdras chapter 7 and verse 19, and it said, and he said unto me, there is no judge, so there is no teacher above God. That's where it came from. And none that have understanding above the highest. This is the point. So again, who is above God? Or who can equal himself to God? Who has more understanding? See, this is why I keep saying why we have the issue, because I want to pull something with this to even show us, because he even tell us here. Let's go over here to Isaiah, because he even tell us when we go over here to Isaiah chapter 40. In Isaiah chapter 40, he tell us something. In Isaiah chapter 40, he going to tell us in verse 17 and verse 18. Tell us. Isaiah chapter 40, verse 17 and verse 18. It says, all nations before him, in the presence of him, are as nothing. And they are counted to him less than nothing and vanity. To whom then will you liken God? Or what likeness will you compare unto him? So the question is, so who is like God? He's asking us the question right here. Who are you going to liken to God? But again, understand the tower builder. The tower builder and the name maker is going to answer this question for himself. They've sat there and said within themselves, we're going to reach into heaven. We're going to sit in the seat of God. We're going to be like the Most High. We seen it in Scripture. That's why I showed us to that at the beginning of the teaching. We seen it in Scripture. So providing we sit here and make our own decisions and our own choices, and we want to sit there and pass our own judgment, and we take that same knowledge for ourselves just to show others that we have it, and we build upon that understanding without ever going back to the source of where it came from to seek counsel, now we sitting there equaling ourselves to God. Because now we don't need to seek understanding. We don't need his counsel. We don't have to rely on his judgment. We don't need direction. We don't need guidance. We don't need counsel. We got it. How many of us actually sit there and do that? See if we answer that. We sit there and we make all types of decisions and choices without actually consulting the one to get an understanding on something before we do anything. How many of us actually do that? We sit there, we make all types of decisions and choices on stuff, and we don't consult. We don't do no type of consulting anybody to get any type of understanding on anything, and we just do it. This is what I'm talking about. See, I want us to even consider Moses. I want us to consider Moses as an example. So looking at Moses, I want us to consider something, even with Moses. I want us to see something. I want us to see something here. Let's go over here to Numbers chapter 12. I want to show us something. In Numbers chapter 12, when we're going to hit verse 6 down to verse 8, I want us to see something. In Numbers chapter 12, starting at verse 6, and we're going to take it down to verse 8. And it said, and he said, hear now my words. If there be a prophet among you, I, the Lord, the Spirit of God, will make myself known to him in a vision and will speak unto him in a dream. My servant Moses is not so, who is faithful in all mine house. With him will I speak mouth to mouth, even apparently, and not in dark speeches. And the similitude of the Lord, the Spirit of God, shall he behold, shall he remember. Wherefore, then were you not afraid to speak against my servant Moses? So, it's letting you know, there won't no man like Moses, because he's the only one in whom the JEHOVAH spoke to mouth, not in visions and dreams. So everybody else, JEHOVAH going to speak to in visions and dreams. But with Moses, it was not so. So he spoke to God mouth to mouth. So I want us to really consider this on what we're speaking about. So this let you know how much weight that he was actually carrying with God. But the point is, you telling me out of all people, this same Moses is the same one whenever a situation went down and there was a decision that needed to be made on a matter or a judgment that needed to be passed, he the same one who always consorted with God? This what you telling me? He always went to JEHOVAH before making that decision. You can see this in scripture. Other than the one where he struck the rock, you always seen him consulting JEHOVAH on decisions. Now, mind you, he ain't just no regular guy. He's the prophet of God. He's in the position of the leader of this people. God spoke to him face to face. And he ain't did nobody else like this. He won't going around making his own decisions and his own choices without counsel. Understand what I'm saying? But we sit there and do everything how we want to do it and don't get no type of counsel or no type of instruction on anything. We just rely on what we think that we know. We don't seek no guidance. So you really telling me we think we better than Moses? This is the point. This is the point I'm trying to get us to understand. Matter of fact, I'm gonna show us an example of something just to prove the point. Just to prove the point even further. Just to show us how he actually did things. So let's go over here to Numbers chapter 15. Let's look at this. In Numbers chapter 15, we're gonna look at this in verse 32. Numbers chapter 15, we're gonna hit verse 32 and we're gonna take it to 34. Numbers chapter 15, verse 32 down to verse 34. And it said, and while the children of Israel were in the wilderness, they found a man that gathered sticks upon the Sabbath day. And they that found him gathering sticks brought him unto Moses and Aaron and unto all the congregation. And they put him inward because it was not declared what should be done unto him. So this man that they found gathering these sticks on the Sabbath day, they just put him inward. So they just bound him because they ain't know what to do with him. But guess what? Today, what we'll do, we'll sit there and reason within ourselves and say, well, he was just picking up sticks. He was just doing a little something. Please, that ain't that bad. That's okay. God gonna look over it. That ain't no big deal. Why you think we sit there and do that? Because we going to sit there and follow our own counsel and our own decision making. And we don't seek no understanding from God. We just going to determine, oh yeah, he was just picking up sticks. That ain't that bad. Same thing, like I said, this man gathering sticks. Seem harmless. It seem insignificant. Just as the same as we do these little things that we believe to seem harmless and seems insignificant. That we believe God just going to look over. He just going to look past it. So we're going to determine within ourselves, you know what? This is okay. Say we don't do it. Say that these are the things that we don't do. But I want you to see what happened. Right here in verse 35, and you see it said, and the Lord said unto Moses, the man shall surely be put to death. And all the congregation shall stone him with stones without the camp. So this is the point. They put this man to death. That shows you the seriousness of it. So they had to get this. They had to get the understanding on this to pass righteous judgment, not according to what he thought, but according to the word of the Spirit of God. But then a lot of us, we don't even seek understanding on decisions. We'll just make them based on what we think and how we feel. See, this is why we had the issue. So I want to show us another example on this. Let's look over here in Numbers chapter 11. I want to show us this from here. Let's look over here in Numbers chapter 11. And we're going to start at verse 10. Numbers chapter 11. We're going to start at verse 10. We're going to take it down. Numbers chapter 11, we're going to start at verse 10. And we're going to take it down. Let's see. Yeah, Numbers chapter 11, we're going to take it down to verse 17. Numbers chapter 11, starting at verse 10. I want us to see this. At Numbers chapter 11, we're going to be starting at verse 10. And it said, then Moses heard the people weep. So he heard the people. He heard them mourning. He heard them in sorrow. He heard them crying. Throughout their families, every man in the door of his tent. And the anger of the Spirit of God was kindled greatly. Moses also was displeased. So he was offended. He was disturbed by this. But what I want us to see, when this situation was happening, we have to understand that he dealing with a stiff-necked, rebellious, hard-headed people. Same people that you see today. Because they sitting there murmuring. They sitting there complaining. Always got an issue with everything. So he was displeased by it. But did he take out his anger on the people? Or did he seek counsel from the Lord on this matter? Let's see what happened. In verse 11. And Moses said unto the Spirit of God, wherefore hast thou afflicted thy servant? Wherefore have I not found favor in thy sight, that thou layest the burden of all this people upon me? Have I conceived all this people? Have I begotten them, that thou shouldest say unto me, carry them in thy bosom, as a nursing father beareth the sucking child, unto the land which thou swearest unto thy fathers? Verse 13, whence should I have flesh to give unto all this people? For they weep unto me, saying, give us flesh, that we may eat. Verse 14, I am not able to bear all this people alone, because it is too heavy for me. See, this right here, this is a heavy statement. We need to understand what's going on here. He letting God know that this burden is too heavy for him to bear. But you have people that believe they can be in this position. See, the man who's going to build his own tower, his own city, he desires the fame and the reputation and the recognition, the notoriety with these people. He ain't going to petition God of anything. He just desires to be in a position of power for people to come and hearken unto him. But he don't consider the weight. That same one going to lead the same people right to their own destruction. However, Moses is in this very position. But is he seeking after power over his people? Is he seeking to try to be dominant over them? No. He's petitioning God. He's saying, I'm not able to bear this burden alone. This is too heavy for me. So he's seeking God for help. That's the point. He's not seeking to establish his own reputation and making a name for himself amongst his people. He's not sitting there leaning to his own understanding to exalt himself to receive praise from them. But instead, he's petitioning God on this very matter that has become too heavy for him to bear concerning this people. That's why I'm saying we need to understand our forefathers and how they did things. See, this man is one of Jehovah's prophets who he spoke to face, but you see the humility, he still sought God. He still sought counsel from Jehovah. You see what's going on here. He tells us in verse 15, he said, and if thou deal thus with me, kill me, I pray thee, out of thy hand. And if I have found favor in thy sight, let me not see my wretchedness. Verse 16, and the Lord said unto Moses, so we're going to see his response. He said, gather unto me 70 men of the elders of Israel, whom thou knowest to be the elders of the people and officers over them, and bring them unto the tabernacle of the congregation, that they may stand there with thee. And I will come down and talk with thee there. And I will take of the spirit which is upon thee, and I will put it upon them, and they shall bear the burden of the people with thee, that thou bear it not thyself alone. So you see this. This is the point. He couldn't bear this burden alone. So he petitioned Jehovah. But he needed other men who was able to bear this same burden, not seeking after their own will and their own covetousness, nor their own ambition, but those who are willing to help carry the weight. This is the burden of teaching this people in Jehovah's way. He had to bear that. So you see the point. Jehovah made this available for this to happen. But Moses consulted him on this. He didn't use his own reasoning and come to his own understanding and making his own decisions and choices. So the position that he was in, and he could come to God in this way, then what's our issue? What's our problem? That's what I'm trying to get us to understand. You see the position that he was in, the way he could come to God. Then why in the world would we have this issue? Why do we continue to lead God and direct our own self? Just because we think we got knowledge now we think we just can go and do our own thing. This is any of us. Because the same thing is, as you can see here, even when his father-in-law gave him this advice, even on what he did, he hearkened unto it. But our issue is, we sit there and we get big-headed. We get prideful just because we possess wisdom and understanding. Now, that very knowledge can actually become our downfall because we get too dang big-headed to believe that we too good now to even get advice. Ain't nobody on our level. So instead of humbling our own understanding, we're going to build our tower. And that's the issue. But we have to learn from these examples in Scripture. We need to understand how our forefathers did things and how they led in righteousness. Not sitting there building towers of their own understanding, but even as you can see here, the same thing. Even when you go over here to Exodus chapter 18. Exodus chapter 18, and we're going to hit verse 25. In Exodus chapter 18, we're going to hit verse 25 and verse 26, and you see what it's saying. It said, and Moses chose able men out of all Israel and made them heads over the people, rulers of thousands, rulers of hundreds, rulers of 50s, and rulers of 10s. And they judged and they taught the people at all seasons. The hard causes they brought unto Moses, but every small matter they taught themselves. So you see how this happens. But we can't ever forget the source of where our understanding came from. We have to always go back to it. Same thing. These men taught the people at all seasons. But the hard causes, the things that they couldn't provide an understanding on, they brought that to Moses because he was the prophet. The same one in whom the Spirit rested upon, Jehovah took that same Spirit upon him and rested it upon these other men. You see why I say that back over here in Numbers chapter 11, verse 17. He said, I will come down and talk with thee, and I will take the Spirit which is upon thee and put it upon them. So you see that there. So you can see how this is working. Jehovah rests his Spirit upon a vessel, and that vessel goes out and distributes this knowledge from God to the people. And then you have others who receive that same knowledge who are able to start teaching it. And then once they receive the Spirit, they start distributing that same knowledge. You see, it's just like a river flowing from one single source, and then it breaks off into multiple streams, into multiple channels. And all these rivers start flowing all throughout the land. But each river, each stream, each channel all stem from that one singular source that it came from. The same as you see here at KJBU. We have a prophet among us in whom the Spirit of the Lord is, that has distributed the knowledge that he has been given to each and every single one of us. But he does not bear the burden alone. There are streams, there are channels that have been opened from that same source. This is why we have elders. This is why we have evangelists. This is why we have deacons. This is why we have brothers that all teach here. This is why you can actually see this. We are not all just constricted on one channel, but you see all the teachers that teach from their own channels, but But the knowledge that's being taught all came from the same identical source, not multiple sources of understanding, but that's the point. It's one identical source, because everything that is taught all points back to the same source that it came from. So this is why we must take everything that we do here with all seriousness and with all importance. Why? Because providing anything that is taught here and is taught in error, then that means, remember, if it's coming from the one identical source, if anything here is taught in error, then that means it did not come from the original source that it supposed to came from. That's the issue. The same thing is when you have those here who don't want to teach openly on one of the channels, but would believe that they can go out and teach other people in private. So the same thing is this. If you're not willing to teach in the front on KJBU platform, and your teaching flows openly from that source, then where is your source of understanding actually flowing from? I want to understand that. You can't say it's flowing from KJBU because you're not willing to distribute knowledge from the channels here. But you're doing it your own way. See, this is why that's an issue. See, this is again why we sit there. We can sit there and now we sit there and still we building our own tower. We take knowledge, we gain understanding, but then we turn ourselves from the source that we got it from. Not distributing JEHOVAH knowledge from the source and from the proper channels provided, but we decide we gonna go out and do it our own way. But think we ain't got no issue. The same thing is every matter that a teacher teaches here, providing he has the understanding, he brings it forth to the people. Provided he doesn't, then he brings it to the head pastor to get a proper understanding on it. Just as you see here, it said, and they taught the people at all seasons. The hard causes they brought unto Moses, but every small matter they taught themselves. So every hard cause they brought to Moses, but every small matter they taught themselves. So let me give you an example of this as it actually relates to the focus of this lesson, so we can get a clear understanding of this. So providing I decide to build my own tower and make a name for myself, what would this actually look like as it relates to what you see here? I want to show us this. So let me give you an example. So let's say someone comes to me for understanding on a matter, being a teacher, and I know I'm not actually knowledgeable in that very matter. Why? It's a hard cause that's above my understanding. But if I sit there and still try to force an understanding based on what I know, based on the knowledge that I've received, and give them an educated guess, and I know that I'm not actually sure, now I'm building an understanding. I'm building my own tower, because now I'm trying to maintain a reputation that has been established, because I don't want to seem that I'm not knowledgeable. So in order to maintain my reputation, I'm going to give an answer based on what I think without giving proper understanding. Because instead of bringing it to the one who has the understanding, I choose to use my own reasoning and my own way of thinking. Now, I can possibly lead someone in error and lead them in a wrong direction, all behind wanting to maintain this reputation. This is how it gets us caught up. When he tell you, provided it be too hard, they brought it to Moses. Same as today. Providing a matter is too hard for me, it's above my understanding, I need to bring it to the pastor to get the proper understanding. But because of pride, because I got to keep this little high horse that I'm on, I'm not willing to do that. I got to show that I know. So what'll happen is, providing they don't get the proper understanding, but then go to the pastor who gives them the proper understanding, then the first thing gonna happen is they're gonna say, now wait a minute, you told me this, but he gave me something completely different. Now, who's at fault? Who's at fault now? All behind pride, all behind trying to maintain a certain height instead of going back to the one source from which the understanding came. Instead, we build our own way. See, these are the issues that we have to keep in mind. See, this is what we're talking about. See, let's go over here. Now let's go over here to Proverbs. Let's go over here to Proverbs. Because we sit there and see. Let's go over here to Proverbs chapter 16. You'll see something here. In Proverbs chapter 16, we're going to hit verse 25 and verse 26. It says, there is a way that seemeth right unto a man, but the end thereof are the ways of death. He that laboreth for himself, for his mouth craveth it of him. Exactly. Yes, because we sit there and we'll sit there and do everything for self. He ain't laboring for God. He laboring for himself. You see it right here. He ain't working for God. He working to establish himself. So the tower builder is the laborer who's going to make a name for himself. His labor is for what he desires and what he seeks, what he craves. Not for the glorifying of Jehovah's name, but for establishing his own name. Why? Because we're going to make everything about us. Not for the benefit of others, but for our own benefit. Just as a man that goes out and he works to make a living, he doesn't just go out there and labor for the benefit of himself, but also for the benefit of his entire household. Because it's not just about him, but it's about those who are there with him for them to also profit as well. Because he has to take care of the entire house, not just himself. But if a man go out there and he labor just for himself, for his own craving, for his own desire, and not to benefit another, then he only concerned about himself and his own well-being of what he wants, but lack the same care for the others within his house, who is also in need. And guess what? That's selfish. That's a self-centered mindset, because that's his own understanding. Sitting there saying, well, I'm going to get mine. Well, I'm going to get mine. But we're not going to benefit another. The same thing as we can see when we go out here and we labor in this field to get this knowledge. But then we decide within ourselves, we're going to keep it all for ourselves and hoard it up for ourselves. But we don't want to distribute anything to anybody else. We just want to show the knowledge that we attain, but we don't want nobody else to get it. So we're going to keep it to ourselves. Like I said, selfish. It's self-centered. Because now to us, we the only person that's important. Because we concerned about self. That's it. Then we think, but we don't think we doing something right. This is why I said why we had the issues. But then on the contrast, he even tell us. He even tell us when we go over here. He even tell us something. When we go over here to Sirach or Ecclesiasticus, chapter 33. Sirach or Ecclesiasticus, chapter 33. And we're going to hit verse 17. He tell us something here. It says, consider that I labored not for myself only, you see this, but for all them that seek learning. Exactly the point. So it ain't just for ourselves. However, for those that seek to learn, this is why we do what we do. Not for our own glory, not for our own fame, our own notoriety, but everything that we do should be towards being a servant of God and serving the people of his house, not coveting everything for ourselves only. But the man who seeks to establish his own name, building his own tower, is only concerned with personal importance. See, that's the point I'm making. No matter what, he's only concerned with his own personal importance, because he's going to do what he thinks is right only to benefit self. But this is our own self-deception of our own heart. Again, the tower builder is constructing his own understanding based on what he thinks that he know, because his way is right to him. So he has a need to feel important, this sense of self-importance, by stroking his own ego. See, that's why a lot of we're going to have an issue with this, because we sit there, we like to stroke our own egos. This is the tower builder, the one who wants his own reputation to make a name for himself. See, this is rooted in the desire to feel highly important, to feel valued or significant in the eyes of others. As a result of this, those of us that's actually like this, we often feel the need to demonstrate how skilled we are at something, or we got to display how much knowledge we possess in order to maintain this sense of self-importance, to maintain this dominance and this superiority. You can't say we don't do it. We do it all the time. See, you can see it. It manifests itself all the time through competition with others, measuring ourselves with ourselves, even against other people, making things revolve around us in order to satisfy our own self-esteem, to make ourselves feel valued about who we think we are, rather than acknowledging our own limitations and our own weaknesses. We rather sit there and conceal ourselves behind those very weaknesses. We're going to hide it. So a lot of us, we done developed this inflated mindset in which everything becomes centered on self. This ego-driven mindset, making us have this personal importance, and we continually seeking our own validation through self-exaltation, elevation of self. So this is what we do. This is how the tower builder builds. But guess what? This is all based on the carnal mind. See, he even warns us against this same mindset of even making these comparisons. He even tells us this here. He warns us against it. In 2 Corinthians chapter 10. 2 Corinthians chapter 10 and verse 12, he warns us against this. He says, for we dare not make ourselves of the number or compare ourselves with them, with some that commend themselves, those that boast upon themselves, that praise themselves, that admire themselves. But they, measuring themselves by themselves and comparing themselves among themselves, are not wise. It's not wise. It's foolish. But this is what happens. So the one that will commend themselves is the one that will praise and boast on their own ability or their own achievements, trying to weigh that against what others are doing to equal ourselves with other people. The carnal mind is going to measure himself either with himself or measure himself against the life of another man. This is why we have the issue. Again, we can't say that we don't do this. How are we going to sit there and say it? See, it's the same thing even what Elder Howard was just speaking about on last night in his teaching. Why in the world are we worried about the gifts that somebody else have? Why are we worried about that? Instead of working the gift that's been given to us, we can't even understand it because we too busy looking across the table to see what everybody else got. You ever seen somebody where everybody got their own portion of their meal on the table and you looking around the table to compare yours with everybody else to see if they got more than you? This is the same thing. So if we sat there and we done received our portion that's been given to us, then why in the world are we concerned with the portion that's granted unto another man? What's wrong with us? Everybody got their own portion. Everybody got their own talent. Everybody got their own gifts granted unto them. But we trying to worry about what somebody else got and why they got it and why we don't. What's wrong? What's our problem? Because we the ones, you know why? Because we the ones who's important. Like I said, this sense of this self-importance. We got to make everything about us. Why they got that and I ain't got it? Why they can do that and I can't do that? How you going to make them equal to me? That's what I say. This is what our issues are. See, I want to even show us something to even prove the point even further on what I'm actually saying. So we can see this ego, this sense of self-importance, where we feel like we should be better than everybody else. Let's look at something. I want to show us something. I want to show us this. And we going to read this one down for a minute. Cause I want to show us this. But we're going to do some explaining as we go through. So yeah. So let's go over here. Let's go over here. We're going to hit Matthew chapter 20. We're going to start at verse 1. Matthew chapter 20, we're going to start at verse 1. And we're going to take it down to 13. Matthew chapter 20, we're going to start at verse 1. And we're going to take it down to 13. I want to show us something here. Because I want us to understand how we'll go about how we'll actually do this. Let's look at something. Matthew chapter 1, starting at verse... Shoot. That's my fault. Matthew chapter 20, starting at verse 1. It say, for the kingdom of heaven. The kingdom of heaven is like unto a man that is a householder, which went out early in the morning to hire laborers into his vineyard. And when he had agreed with the laborers for a penny a day, he sent them into his vineyard. So we can clearly see this agreement between the householder and the laborers. So guess what? Everybody gonna get the same reward at the end of the day, providing you continue in the work in the field. Every single person gonna get the same reward at the end of the day. So every single person here, we all agree for that penny a day. So providing we endure this thing to the end, we continue in our labor, we gonna get that penny that we agreed upon. Do everybody understand what I'm saying? We should clearly understand this. But The issue is, it's going to prove the point on why a lot of us continue to have the issue. Because we're going to make things about ourselves. And He's going to prove it to us. He's going to prove the point on how we sit here and we do it. Watch what happened. Let's continue. He tells us in verse 3, and it said, and he went out in about the third hour and saw others standing idle in the marketplace. So they was being slothful. They was slacking. They was being sluggards. And he said unto them, go you also into the vineyard. He said, get out here in this field. Get out here amongst this people and start putting in some work. Stop being lazy. Stop being slothful and do some work. What are he telling them? And whatsoever is right, I will give it you. And they went their way. Watch this. Again, he went out about the 6th and 9th hour and did likewise. Verse 6. And about the 11th hour, he went out and found others standing idle and said unto them, why you stand here all the day idle? He said, why the hell all of y'all out here and ain't nobody working? Y'all standing around, y'all sitting over here, you sitting there staring out in space, ain't doing nothing. You got all this time and you ain't doing nothing. Get your butt out there in the field and start putting in some work. This is what we talking about. In verse 7, they said, no man have hired us. And he said unto them, okay, go you also into the vineyard. Go out there and put in some work. And whatsoever is right, that shall you receive. Watch this. So when even was come, see, I want us to really look at this and understand what's actually about to happen here. The Lord of the vineyard said unto his steward. So his steward, that's the one he placed over the vineyard. He placed over this people. He's the keeper. He's the watchman. See, watch what he told him to do. Call the laborers and give them their hire, beginning from last until the first. And when they came that were hired about the 11th hour, so these the ones that just started working at the last hour. They started working at the last minute. They received every man a penny. So yeah, because it was rightfully given unto them to receive, because that's the agreement. Every man going to receive that penny. But I'm going to show you what the issue is right here. This right here is the issue. Start right here in verse 10. But when the first came, so the ones that was laboring from the very beginning, when they came, watch what they said. They supposed that they should have received more. And they likewise received every man a penny. Now, wait a minute. What do you mean you should have received more? You agreed for a penny a day. What more do you want? What makes us think that just because we've been putting in work longer than somebody else, now all of a sudden we deserve more than they get? Y'all understand what I'm saying now? Do we see what the issue is now? He said, and when they had received it, they murmured. So they complained. They complained against the good man in the house, saying, wait a minute, these ones, they ain't wrought nothing but an hour. And thou hast made them equal to us? You made them equal to us? You serious? Which have borne the burden and the heat of the day? Hell, we've been out here putting in work, bro. And you gonna make them equal to us? They ain't did nothing but an hour. They just got here. They ain't been here that long. You gonna make them equal to us? He ain't put in as much work for you as I have. And you gonna make him equal to me? Are you serious? I've been putting in work for years. I've been out here laboring. I've been bearing this burden. I've been going through hell, facing this pressure, taking all this heat for all this time. And you telling me this dude ain't been doing nothing for all these years? Now all of a sudden he start laboring and you gonna make him equal to me? You gonna put him on my level? I've been doing this for you for years and you gonna put this dude on my level? That's what I'm talking about. We over here complaining. You can't tell me we ain't got this problem. You can't tell me we ain't got the issue. You can't tell me that this ain't what we do. Tell me this ain't what we do. Watch what he tell them though. Watch what he tell them though. He said, but he answered one of them and said, friend, I do thee no wrong. I don't do you no wrong. Didst not thou agree with me for a penny? Did not you do this? You agreed for that penny, just like everybody else. That was the agreement from the very beginning. But like I said, the issue with a lot of us, when we get so dang big-headed, when we believe that we have some type of importance, now we done came up with this crap in our own understanding, believing that we deserve more than what we agreed upon. So this is what we do. We feel that we so important, that we so dang important, that we hold so much value, that just because we've been doing something for a while, that we've been here for a while, that we've been putting in work for a while, that we've been laboring in this field for God for a while, we've been taking all this heat, we've been taking all this pressure, we've been going through all the ups and downs, all this stuff that we done had to endure through. Now we think that makes us so important now. Now, all of a sudden, we so important now. Now, we better than the next man. I need somebody here to tell me that I'm lying. Tell me this not what we do. Tell me we don't sit here and build this own understanding in our own mind where we make ourselves believe that we got this sense of self-importance, making ourselves higher than all others. Because we've been doing something longer than somebody else. So we should deserve better. We should receive more than them. They ain't been putting in work like me. They ain't went through the hell that I went through. They ain't labored for you like I've done. How you gonna sit there and equal them to me? Tell me we don't sit here and develop this mindset. But guess what? We all jacked up. We all jacked up and bent up out of shape. He said, friend, wait a minute. I don't do you no wrong. What you talking about? What wrong have I done you? Did you not agree for the penny? Did you not agree for that righteous measure? That same just reward? Did you not agree for that? So the point of this is, it don't matter what position we hold in this body. It don't matter what position that we hold in this vineyard. It don't matter what position you in. It don't matter if you the toe. It don't matter if you the pinky. It don't matter if you the hand. It don't matter if you the fingernail. It don't matter if you the arm, the knee. It don't matter what position or what work we are doing within this body, because we all laboring for that same penny a day. We all laboring for that same righteous reward. So it don't matter how long somebody been doing something. You could have been here for years. You could have been laboring this body for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years. Then all of a sudden you got somebody who could have been sitting over here for 3, 4, 5, 8, 9 years, and they been idle. They been lazy. They been slothful, and they ain't did nothing for years that they been here. But provided they pick that plow up and they start working and they start doing work for this body, then just because they start working and you sitting there and you been laboring longer, who in the hell do we think we are to determine that we better than them just because we've been doing it longer than them? They got the same equal right to the same equal reward that we have. It don't matter how long you've been here. It don't matter how long you've been working. You don't sit there and think within yourself that we better just because we doing something longer than the next man. Because now we putting ourselves above them, making ourselves of more importance. Oh, I should be getting more. How you gonna equal them to me? How you gonna put them on my level? They ain't been doing it this long. They ain't been laboring here as long as me. But this is what we talking about. We building these towers of understanding in our own mind, doing it just like that, putting ourselves on this high level, believing to be more important than other people, even making these comparisons with one another. This is why we got these egos. That's the point. See, this is why we have the issue. Shoot, I got it. Let me see what I got. How much time? because I want to go through this other one. I got another one. I want to show. I want to show us another example. I got another one I want to show us. I want to show us another one because we're going to go back over here. We're going to go back over here. We're going to go back over here with the same one we looked at earlier. With the same son who went out and wasted his substance on riotous living. But we're going to look at what happened when he returned. Because I want to show us something. Because when we look here, see, this is actually going to show you how he turned from his own way and came to remembrance of his sin, returning back to his father's house and surrendered himself. See, this is actually going to show us that. So providing we don't actually have time to get to the next part of this teaching, we still have this example here to actually show us one example of what that vessel who surrendered actually looks like. So we're going to go through this one right here because I want to show us this example too. This is why I'm going to keep showing us what our issues are and what we need to do, what our problems are. So I want to show us. Let's look at something. We're going to start right here. We're going to hit Luke chapter 15. We're going to hit verse 17 and verse 18. Watch this. It said, and when he came to himself. So this is the younger son who went out and wasted his substance with riotous living. So when he came to himself, meaning he came to repentance, he came to remembrance of what he was doing. He said, how many hired servants of my father's have bread, so have knowledge enough to spare? And I perish with hunger. So I'm perishing with hunger. He said, I will arise and go to my father and will say unto him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before thee in the presence of thee. Because this right here, what's happening here, this is all Jehovah actually asks of each and every single one of us. Genuine repentance. We just come to him with everything. We're not hiding anything, but we have to offer ourselves with this genuine repentance. Same thing why he tell us here in Jeremiah chapter 3 and verse 13. Tell us the same thing. That's why he tells us. It says, only acknowledge thy iniquity, that thou hast transgressed against the Lord our God, and hast scattered thy ways to the strangers under every green tree. So under every way of life, we don't win in every way of life that we thought would prosper and found out it won't hit on nothing. And you have not obeyed my voice, my instructions, saith the Spirit of God. So this is all he asks of us to do, but also not just to confess unto him, but we must turn from it. Again, the same thing that Elder Howard, again, was just speaking to us about on last night. We can't just say it with our mouths. We got to prove it in our actions. So I want to pull the same one that we see over here in Proverbs chapter 28 and verse 13. You see it right here. It says, he that covereth his sins shall not prosper. But whoso confesseth and forsaketh them shall have mercy. So we can't just give God lip service. We have to put action behind our words. We have to turn and do what's right. You see, the man who sits on the tower, he may confess his iniquity and say that he is wrong. Why? Because that still make him look good at the end of the day. See, that's what we have to understand. That's the catch. It's still going to make him look good at the end of the day. Because people may say, oh, that's a humble guy right there. Oh, dang, that dude humble. Yeah, that's a really slick way to still get that recognition. See, he may acknowledge his offense, but the question is, will he change though? You see, that's the difference. He may acknowledge it, but will he change? See, just acknowledging it, that's just for his benefit, to make him appear righteous. But he's still going to see himself right in his own eyes. So he never changes. He always makes excuses and justifications. He may acknowledge his offense. However, it's always going to come with a but. A but. You see, but the man that surrenders himself with genuine repentance of his sin, he don't have anything to justify. He's not inconsiderate. He's vulnerable. He's not trying to protect or justify anything. He don't have anything to hide nor conceal, nor to offer in an excuse. He can only offer himself, his vessel, and willingness to change from his wicked way. So that's what we're seeing right here. When we get back over here to Luke chapter 15 and verse 19, he said, I am no more worthy. He said, I am no more worthy to be called thy son. Make me as one of thy hired servants. So the interesting part about this, he said, I am no more worthy to be called thy son. He said he ain't worthy. I want us to think about that. Same thing with the tower builder and the name maker. The tower builder and the name maker believes his spiritual achievements are worthy of heaven's approval. That's why he exalts himself towards heaven, to be seen, believing that if I come to God and acknowledge this offense, oh, he gotta accept it. He gotta accept me. He ain't got no choice but to accept it. Believing just because you come to God with something, you believe that he just have to accept it just because you came to him with it. But if he doesn't, now we get all upset. No different from Cain. Because the issue is his own understanding, he believed himself worthy of something. That's the difference. But you see this son right here. This one right here, he came to a remembrance of his sin. And he said, he is no more worthy to be called our son. He's not calling himself worthy of anything. That's the point. But we'll think just because we do something, because of that, now we worthy of approval. That's the difference. So I want to keep that in mind. So let's continue down. So let's continue down. So we're gonna hit verse 20. Verse 20. Yeah, we gotta go all the way down. Verse 20 to 32. But I'm gonna be explaining as I go down anyways. So we hit verse 20. And it said, and he arose and came to his father, but when he was yet a great way off, his father saw him and had compassion, and ran and fell on his neck and kissed him. And the son said unto him, Father. So the same thing that he already said to himself beforehand, he's saying the same thing. He said, I have sinned against heaven and in thy sight, and am no more worthy to be called thy son. But the father said to his servants, bring forth the best robe and put it on him, and put a ring on his hand and shoes on his feet, and bring hither the fatted calf and kill it, and let us eat and be merry. For this son which was dead is alive again. He was lost and is found. And they began to be merry. But watch this. Now, when we get here to verse 25, now this is what we're talking about. Watch the same issue come in again. Watch it. Watch it happen. Watch what happens. Now, his elder son was in the field. So he was out there putting in the work, doing what he was doing. And he came and drew nigh to the house. He heard music and dancing. And he called one of the servants and asked what these things meant. And he said unto him, thy brother, your dame brother is come back. He come. And thy father hath killed a fatted calf, because he have received him safe and sound. Watch this. And he was angry. He's angry behind this. And would not go in. He won't even go in there to see his dang brother. Therefore came his father out and entreated him. And he said to his father, lo, watch this. Watch it. Here we go. Lo, these many years I do serve thee. Neither transgressed I at any time thy commandment. And yet thou never gavest me a kid, that I may make merry with my friends. So again, this is the same thing. This same sense of self-importance. You see the older son sitting there talking about, he done served all these years. I done served you all this time, these many years. He ain't never transgressed or did anything wrong towards you. But you ain't did nothing for me. Where my fatted calf at? Where my kid at? You ain't gave me nothing. You ain't done nothing for me. Why you ain't rejoicing over me like this? Why I ain't getting this type of recognition? I've been serving you this entire time. You see how we sit there and feel like that we better? And we'll make it about us. And we feel as though we deserve something. He tells us right here at verse 31. He said, and he said unto him, son, thou art ever with me. In your perfection and beauty, you ever with me. And all that I have is thine. What you talking about? It was meet. It was fitting. It was necessary that we should make merry and be glad. For this thy brother was dead. He was separated from God. He was separated from God and is alive again. He was restored. He was lost and he was found. Why wouldn't you be merry behind that? Why wouldn't you be glad behind that? Why wouldn't you be glad and joyful behind this? Because it's the same thing that we can see right here is the same chapter which he told us even beforehand, before we got there. And where am I at? Yeah, and Luke. Because the point is what you see right here in Luke chapter 15, right here in verse 10. Luke chapter 15, right here in verse 10, it tells you, it says, likewise, I say unto you, there is joy in the presence of the angels of the messengers of God over one sinner that repenteth. That one sinner that come to the remembrance of his sins. That's what he's talking about. So why wouldn't you be joyful? We should be joyful to see this happening. So why would we be angry? Let me bring it closer. Let me bring it closer for us, because maybe we not understanding. Why would we be angry to see a brother or a sister who went astray, who fell, and they get back up and come to the remembrance of the things that they did, and they sit there and get it right? We should rejoice over that. We should rejoice to see a brother or a sister do well. But then again, you have those of us who don't. Why? Because we make everything about self. Again, we don't build this tower of self-reasoning. Now we believe that we deserve the same praise. We deserve the same rejoicing. We deserve the same joyfulness that they receive, when it's not about us. Why are we making it about us? Because we didn't get it. Now we angry. Now we upset. What sense does that make? Because again, we don't build this own understanding in our mind that it should have been us. That's supposed to have been me. I supposed to have been getting that admiration. I supposed to have been getting recognized. Why I'm not getting that recognition? And you telling me he gonna get it? I've been busting my tail for you this entire time, Lord. And he was out there living in sin. And he gonna come back and receive all this recognition that you ain't gave to me? This is what I'm talking about. Me, I. Everything about me. It's all about me. This is what we do. But again, we don't consider. Same thing. That one sinner that come to repentance. We making everything about us and don't even consider the other person. Why? Because we too dang selfish. We self-centered. We don't even consider, nor do we even know what that one person possibly even went through to get to the point where they at right now. You don't know what type of hell they had to go through to get to that point. You don't know what type of stuff they had to go to get them to recognize their error and turn from their sin and do right. You don't know what they had to go through. You don't know what they had to go through to get to that point. And we got the nerve to be angry behind that because they get rejoiced over coming to the remembrance of their sin, and we mad because that's not us, because that didn't happen for us. We got the nerve to be angry behind that. Same thing, just like the younger son, he didn't even see himself worthy of even receiving that mercy. That's why he said, he said he ain't worthy. But we over here angry? You upset with the fact that they received it and we ain't getting that same praise? Are we serious? Again, like I keep saying over and over, somebody please tell me that we don't do this. I want somebody to sit here and tell me that we don't do this, because we believe that everything is supposed to be about us. Because we seek recognition for self. See, this is what it looks like. This is what you sit there, we building you want to see what it look like within a vessel that's building his own tower, of it, seeking his own recognition, his own reputation, feeling this sense of self-importance, stroking our own ego based on our own understanding because of how we see ourselves. Guess what? This is what it looked like. Hopefully we understand. We got some understanding on it, because we sit there because even when we sit here making these comparisons, especially with the life of another man, that is 100% a carnal mind, because we're trying to compare ourselves to another man. This is what we'll do. That's why he even tell us over here. Let's go over here to Sirach. He tell us this. Let's go over here to Sirach chapter 32. Sirach chapter 32, Sirach chapter 32 and verse 9, it says, if, providing thou be among great men, make not thyself equal with them. But guess what? We do. And when the ancient men are in place, use not many words. So it's letting us know we shouldn't be sitting there trying to put ourselves on somebody else's level or think we are better than other people or compare ourselves to another person, especially those that are above us. The same thing that we looked at the beginning, we looked at from the beginning of the teaching. Thou art wiser than Daniel. We got so puffed up thinking we wiser than the teacher of God. Now we're going to equal ourselves to the teacher, believing we got the same understanding that he got. Then what's the point? If we're going to make ourselves equal to the teacher, if we on the same level as the teacher, then what's the point of attending the classes and the lessons, providing you already believe you on his level? There's no reason for you to be here. You might as well go about your business because you already know everything. So what's the point? What's the point to attend the classes and the lesson? You already feel like you on the same level anyways. What's the point? Same thing is, what's the point of a student? What's the point of a student coming to a classroom believing that he is equal or above the teacher of the class and tries to push his own understanding and disrupts the class, believing he already understands all the assignments when he's only supposed to be there to learn? When he really don't even have the knowledge nor the experience of what's going on. So providing the student believes himself equal to the teacher, then there's no reason for the student to actually attend the class. Because he already believes he already on the same level. He should just go ahead and graduate and go about his business and exit the class. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. The same thing as an employee who calls himself checking his boss. He don't have the knowledge nor the experience of his boss position, but he's still going to equal himself to his boss, to one that's higher than him. What's the point of him working for an owner of a company or an owner of a business when he already believed himself to be on their level? He need to go out and start his own company and start his own business. This the point. Since we sit there, we on their level, then guess what? We need to go out and start our own business then. That's the point. But because of our own egos, we always have something to say. We always want to put ourselves on the level of those that we not actually on the level of, because we always have a point that we think we have to prove. Why? Because this same inflated mindset of a man that's exalted in his own mind. This pride that we have that will cause us to exalt ourselves in this way. Building his own tower of understanding because he wants to be seen and he desires to be praised. We desire to feel important, when on the contrary, we really should just humble ourselves and stay in a position of learning and learn how to shut our mouth. Not trying to sit there and prove that we know something or that we somebody. But again, that's impossible for the tower builder and the name maker. Oh, that's impossible for him. He got something he got to prove. He got something that he got to prove. He has to prove his worth. But this is why we had an issue, because the same thing, even like he tells us, it said, for if a man think himself to be something when he is nothing, he deceiveth himself. Because at the end of the day, we ain't nothing but flesh. We all from the dust of the ground. This flesh is completely insignificant. It's nothing. So why are we going to go around and boast about flesh? Oh, I done this and I done that. See, this is something we shouldn't do. Oh, I know this and I know that. Let me show them what I know. We sit there and try to use that to show how much we think we better than the next man, or we want to put ourselves on somebody else's level, glorifying ourselves, thinking all the things that we achieve here in this life is going to profit us. That's going to benefit us. Or is worthy of God's approval. Oh yeah, he going to accept this. Look at what I'm doing. Look at all this work I'm doing. This is what we do. But you even see he over say over here in Ecclesiastes chapter 2, verse 11. He even say this. It said, then I look on all the works that my hands, my powers have wrought, and on the labor that I had labored to do. And remember, all was vanity and vexation of spirit, and there was no profit under the sun. Yeah, our own labor that we do for ourselves. Sitting there saying, oh, I was a star athlete. I was running this. I was running that. I was the best at this. I was the best at that. I had all this and I had that. Guess what? It's all vanity. It means nothing. It won't profit anything in the end. All it serves for us is an ego boost for us to make us feel good about our own accomplishments here, laboring for ourselves, for our own cravings. But what profit is it? What profit is it? What profit actually is it in the world to come? Because he tell us the same thing, even like he tell us in 1 Corinthians chapter 5. 1 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 6, he tells us, it says, your glorying. He tells your glorying is not good. Know ye not that a little leaven leaveneth the whole lump? It's going to corrupt it. So that little leaven is that pride that's in us. And it just grows. It just grows. It just grows. That's why the tower is on high. Because you build it, we building ourselves up. Just as that leaven is gonna rise. That's the whole point. We gonna be built. We gonna be building upon it. If we sit there and let it sit there and grow and become more and more of a bigger issue. See, this is what we don't want to allow to happen, because it's gonna lead to a downfall no matter what. It's gonna lead to a downfall no matter what. So we have to consider. So what we have to do, we have to consider the man. We have to consider the man or the vessel that comes down from the tower of his own understanding, that comes down from the brick and mortar of his own self-reasoning and crosses over to the other side of Jordan, not only receiving the knowledge, but standing in it, who surrenders himself at the altar. So we have to remember the name maker who builds the tower and built it upon manufactured brick and mortar. I want to show us that again. Back over here in Genesis chapter 11. I want to show us this again. Genesis chapter 11, verse 3 and verse 4. You see, and it said, and they said one to another. We doing this amongst ourselves. It said, go to, and let us make brick and burn them thoroughly. And they had brick for stone. They don't switch this out. They using brick. And slime they had for mortar. And they said, go to, let us build us a city and a tower, whose top may reach into heaven, and let us make us a name, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth. So you see, it said, and they said one to another. They said, we said, so we reason this. This our own instructions. That's why I said it from the beginning. We following our own instructions. We're going to build based on self-reasoning, brick and mortar. Something that's manufactured by man, by flesh. That's the point. Because that's the carnal mind. Everything that we do is based on fleshly, worldly understanding. But we got to get off of that. We got to get off of this. And consider the man who builds the altar. You see, JEHOVAH does not command his servants to build these high towers like you see here. These high towers of brick and mortar. He doesn't command his servants to build this. We did that. We did this of our own reasoning, our own understanding. We did this. Instead, JEHOVAH commands his servants to build an altar. Not on high, but it's low. Not of brick and mortar, but of an unhewn stone, which we can even see here. In Deuteronomy, chapter 27. In Deuteronomy chapter 27 and in verse 6, he tells us something. In Deuteronomy chapter 26, we're going to hit verse 6 and verse 7. He tell you, it says, thou shalt build an altar of the Lord thy God, so the Spirit of God thy God, of whole stones. So it said whole stones. So these whole stones, they hold. So meaning they're entire, they're sound. So they're unbroken, they're unblemished. So you'll see all this in your spiritual dictionary. You're going to see it's entire, it's sound, it's complete, it's not broken, it's unblemished. So these whole stones are sound. So these are sound truths, these sound beliefs. They hold, they unbroken. So this is what this altar has to be built upon. You can't break it. It said, thou shalt offer burnt offerings thereupon, thereon, unto the Spirit of God thy God. Thou shalt offer peace offerings, and thou shalt eat there. You shall learn there, and rejoice in the presence of the Spirit of God thy God. So this offering represents this offering table, this place of slaughter. See, this is the exact position where the vessel is surrendered upon it. This altar represents this place of complete submission. So the old ways of sin have to be completely put to death. That's why I say it's a place of slaughter. offering this vessel on the table, because this entire flesh, all of it, has to be killed, and the deeds of the body have to be mortified. So providing we're going to surrender ourselves upon this altar, then that means we're going to surrender all of ourselves to this belief, to this path that we own, that's sound, that's complete, that's unbroken, and there ain't no blemishes on it. We see the same thing here, which we go over here to Exodus chapter 20. Exodus chapter 20 and Exodus chapter 20 and verse 25, he tells us, it says, and if, so providing thou will make me an altar of stone, thou shalt not build it of hewn stone, meaning it's cut out. You can't build it of this hewn stone that's cut. For if thou lift up thy tools, so you lift up your instrument upon it, thou hast polluted it. Now you defiled it. So we can't alter anything. That's the point. That's why it can't be hewn, because it can't be cut. Because if it's hewn, then it's cut. Now we making alterations, but it has to be whole. That's the point. It has to be entire. So it can't be broken. So we can't make any alterations to our sacrifice, to this established covenant, meaning we can't come to God with these blemishes and these justifications and these excuses and want to change something to fit our lifestyle, to try to alter his judgments and his standards that he set for us to fit our lifestyle. Why? Because he ain't going to accept it. He ain't going to accept it, because the same thing is, he telling us the same thing, and tell us over here in Leviticus chapter 1, and what is going on here? Let me see here. In Leviticus chapter 1 and verse 3, he tells us right here, it says, if, so providing his offering be a burnt sacrifice of the herd, let him offer a male without blemish, so without these conditions. He shall offer it of his own voluntary will, and at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, in the presence of the Spirit of God. So all of this has to happen. So providing we are going to actually do this, we got to come without blemishes, without conditions, without excuses, without justifications, and we got to come willingly at the door of the tabernacle. We got to do this in the presence of the Spirit of God. So we can't come to God and we still want to hold on to something. We can't halfway surrender. We have to understand that there's no such thing as halfway surrendering, because it's either, because there's no in between in surrender. That's what we have to understand. There's no in between. It's either surrender all or surrender nothing. It's as straightforward as that. There's no halfway. There's no in between. So providing we still want to hold on to a reputation, we still want to maintain that in some shape, form, or fashion, the surrender will never happen. It's never going to happen. And we still want to hold on to our own glory. We still want to hold on to receiving some type of praise and some type of admiration. We can't come to him with that, because it's not going to be accepted. We can't come seeking recognition. We can't come to him correctly and we still seeking validation, looking for approval from people. Even if we say we serving God, providing we still seeking any of these things, sitting there talking about we worrying about what the next person got going on instead of focusing on what we doing, and we over here all bent up out of shape because we looking at them and making comparisons with them. Guess what? These are all blemishes in our understanding. That mindset will pollute the offering. He's not going to accept it. This is what we have to understand, because we still want to hold on to this carnal mind. These are the things that keeps a man stayed on the tower of his own construction. But providing that we are actually going to truly surrender before God, then we have to leave it all upon the altar. All of this flesh has to be put to death. Not some of it, all of it. We have to leave all behind. We have to leave it all behind, but of our own voluntary will. See, he's not asking for a perfect offering, but for a willing vessel. This is what we have to consider. This is what we have to understand. We got to be 100% willing to do this. Same thing he tells us in Romans chapter 12 and verse 1. He said, I beseech you therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable service. So this is our reasonable service. This vessel that's offered himself truly has nothing to offer but his own body, to give up this life for the life of Christ, to become dead to this life. So this vessel, he has no reputation to maintain. The same as Christ said, he made himself with no reputation, but took upon the form of a servant. Though he was rich, he made himself poor. Though he was high, he made himself low. We have to see this. Let's go over here to Philippians. You see this in Philippians chapter 2, verse 7 and verse 8. He even tells us, it says, but made himself of no reputation, and took upon him the form of a servant. It was made in the likeness of men. And being found in fashion as a man, comparing a man, he humbled himself and became obedient unto death, even the death of the cross, the suffering unto death. And verse 5. So we can seal this out. He tell you, and so let this mind be in you, which was also in Christ Jesus, in the anointed way of salvation. So we got to have this same mind in us. We have to have the same mind within us that was in the anointed way of salvation, because that's the path that we following. So we have to follow in this same pattern in order to truly transition from that high tower of that to that altar of surrender. We must be willing to release. We must be willing to release the identity that we have built for ourselves. This is what we have to understand. These are the things that we have to do and go through. We cannot maintain an identity in this world if our desire is to be truly separated unto Jehovah. Whatever this world seeks after, we should not. That's why he tell you, seek not after their peace and their prosperity. He tell us this. So this journey is not about boasting upon knowledge, nor allowing the knowledge to lift us up in pride. But we must remain in a state of learning at all times. So it's not about the glory. It's not about fame. It's not about recognition, nor notoriety, self-importance, ego, or self-centeredness. See, all these things is of the world. So what's going to happen is we either going to come down from this mindset willingly and humble ourselves, or he going to bring us down to our own destruction. So that choice is ours. That choice is ours. So we got to be brought low, but not to destruction, but to a complete state of humility with a broken heart and a contrite spirit. So I want us to ask ourselves these questions within ourselves as we close out this teaching. Can we take up our own cross and endure our suffering unto death in this life while the world around us continues to prosper? Can we travel this path without making comparisons with one another and comparing ourselves to the next man, even to the one walking beside us on the left and the right of us, but keeping our eyes locked on the straight path that's before us? Can we walk without placing ourselves at the forefront, without making ourselves the center of attention, believing that we should be the ones recognized and highly esteemed? And can we find genuine joy in the success of others, even when we ourselves have not received the same? Can we truly and completely submit ourselves to Jehovah and let go of everything that we desire to become in this world and endure this journey all the way through, with the hope of receiving that same penny, that same just reward on the other side for which we all are striving for? So these are the things I want us to consider within ourselves, that only we can answer within ourselves. So with that, I'm going to stop right here. But hopefully we gain some understanding from this lesson. And, if I need to go deeper into this, then that's what I do, providing that I'm led to do it. But hopefully we have a more in-depth understanding of the name maker and the tower builder in this interior diagnostic that we've been looking at. And then ultimately what must be done to be surrendered at the altar. So with that, I'd like to appreciate everyone for coming out and tuning in to this lesson. This was Elder James with the King James Bible University. And I'd like to say, Shalom.